Hey YouTube, welcome to Beyond the Hype. This is a series that I created because when a lot of these new Pokemon, a lot of Pokemon in general, you see a lot of clickbaity titles talking about how this Pokemon's amazing, and then you use it and then it's garbage and you hate your life. So this is a video where I go through the actual real analysis of what is good, what is bad about this Pokemon. Is it worth the hype? Is it not worth the hype? Are you just getting clickbaited? To give you some real answers so that you do not waste your resources unnecessarily. So in this video, we were looking at Gligar, and Gligar got one of the biggest buffs, a double buff essentially. So what happened was um, Dig. There's two things that happen here. The first one is, let's start Aerial Ace because it's just one here. Aerial Ace's energy needed went from 45 to 44. So they reduced the energy that it needed. So basically what that does is it damage per energy just kind of clicks that number up a little bit, because instead of having um, 55 divided by 45, it's 55 divided by 40. And with the wing attack buff from before, it only takes 5 wing attacks to get to, because it's 8 energy, right? So 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. So 5 to get to an aerial ace instead of 6 before, right? So you have a little bit more bait move. The way bigger issue here is now that Dig went from a harder hitting, I forget what the full energy was before, but Dig is now a 80 damage for 50 energy. So it's a 1.92. And this is great because you have two things at play here. You have a fast wing attack charging to get 8 energy per second, so 8 per wing attack, and then you have only 50 energy to get to it, so that's only 7 wing attacks, just over, like 6 will give you 48, so just over 7 on the first one, and 1.92 damage per energy, because it's an 80 damage. And when this thing hits, like I got one against Bastiodon coming, and just in neutral situations it hits. And how fast is, so everyone's hyping this up, it is, I'd say, 95% worth the hype. I was very, very impressed by this Pokemon. There are 2 drawbacks to this Pokemon. The first is, if you are in a matchup where Dig is resisted and you can only go Wing Attack or Aerial Ace, you're in a bad spot. So essentially, like if you are against a flyer, there is a little Sims component. Like it's kind of a Sims hero to a certain extent. It's not as bad as what you're going to see this afternoon in Steelix. Steelix is a mega Sims hero. I'm going to go over that this afternoon, so stay tuned for that. But this is a little bit of Sims hero where you're going to bait the Aerial Ace, which is only a 5-turn move, as opposed to the Dig, which is a 7-turn move. So it's a little bit, but it's not terrible. You can just go straight Dig in a lot of situations. But the problem with the Flyers is Dig is really your bread and butter, right? Dig is where you're hitting hard 80 damage, which does a great amount for most Pokemon. Aerial Ace, yes, they made it faster. Aerial Ace is still a bad move. It's still only 55 damage. And if you get into something where you can't throw Dig like a flyer, they know that you're only going to throw Aerial Ace, and you essentially just, so what? Like, again, it's a bad move. So if you get locked into matchup against like a flyer, then you're in trouble there. So it's a little bit of, like I said, so it's a little bit of bait dependent, but not really. Stuck against the Flyers. And in terms of glassiness, it was actually not, it's glassy but not glassy. So it's got way more bulk than the Gliz core, which is what everyone was used to using. But again, it's obviously not like these super bulky XL Pokemon. So you're going to see a little bit of weakness to that. Anyways, double weak to ice and weak to water. So I just went with a very balanced team. Tapu Fini will resist both the water and the ice, and Lickitung is your safe swap. So let's look at some battles. Let's see how this plays in actuality. So terrible lead. We are going to have to safe swap Lickitung right here. Shadow Vic comes out, and this is where immediately you need to sort of determine, yep, I need to win switch if I can. So they let this go, and immediately I know I can win switch because I can now just like down. So I will very easily shield this Leaf Blade to take switch here. You don't need to use Lickitung. You can use another safe swap, but again, I just find that Lickitung is a pretty good safe swap, especially now that Noctowl is not as much around. You don't have anything to throw at the Steel here, but the licks are adding up but the body slams can as well, and the shadow claws on their end are resisted because you are normal. So this is a decent matchup, even though you cannot really throw hard hitting charge moves. They look like they're just gonna let this go and just go two shielded whatever is in the back. And what is in the back is a Sableye. So I just stand here because again, Claw is resisted, so I am able to get a move off here. And then I think I go Gligar. Okay, let it go. I think I just go Gligar because, so let me just pause it here. Why am I going Gligar here? I'm going Gligar here because this is a test case. Early in the season, when I use all these Pokemon, you're going to see me make some dumb plays, but it's because I'm just testing a bunch of things. I want to see how Air Lace hits. I want to see how Dig hits. I want to see how much a Foul Play does to this. So that is why I'm letting a lot of these moves go, because I just want to see how Gligar goes. So I let this move go. And remember they throw a Power Gem? Yeah, which is only neutral. I know I'm flying, but I'm also ground, so I resist that. I probably let this go too, even though I could shield it, but I just want to see. So that was actually only like 40-ish% on a Gligar from a Foul Play. So that was actually not as bad as I expected it to be. So again, it's not super glassy, but it's not super bulky. It just kind of falls in that like mid-range there. And instead of just saying that, why don't I actually just look up its stats on PvPoke just so we can see here. So Gligar, so it's actually got quite a good stat product. 2000 overall, 108 on the attack, 146 defense, 130 stamina, total 2053. So pretty good overall stat product. As you saw right there, I went straight Dig. This one I was just again like, yeah, let's see. So Body Slam. So the good news is the Mudshot is resisted. I've got grading coming tomorrow. I got my thoughts on that. The Mudshots are resisted. So I thought that like between the wing attacks and just getting 2 digs off, I could take this out. I was wrong, if I remember. Like I'm pretty sure they live with 1 HP. They do. They get a 3rd Body Slam off, but because Mudshot is doing absolutely nothing because I am a flyer, I will take this down. So kind of like an evenish matchup there, but I even get countered down. I was low, which is fine. Come there, they have double counter user in the back, which makes this a little tricky. The good news is I got Licks doing super effective here. I am going to shield up 1, and my thought process behind shielding up that one was because Poliwrath will have absolutely nothing to throw at Tapu Fini, right? It's got Power Punch, it's got Ice Punch, it's got Scald, it's got Dynamic Punch. Everything is resisted by my Fairy Water typing there, so I am more than happy to use the shield on Lickitung to just get this there. They, I think, played this as smart as they could because they decide, let's go 2 shield Poliwrath and let's just Power Punch this. Go like 4 times boosted because even a resisted counter 4 times boosted is going to start hurting. And they were right. So I'm at like almost full health, but this is their 2nd Power Punch. And Tapu Fini is not bulky in the Great League. And here comes the 3rd, and I'm like, oh no, this is actually going to be way closer than I want it to be. I get to the Moonblast. I'm like, okay, if I bait here, I'm probably going to get some Moonblast and take this out because I can shield up with a 4th Power Punch before they just basically counter me down. But as you're seeing there, like, look at that. They're now their 4th Power Punch. I do get a shield off and get to the Moonblast for the win. So good attempt by my opponent. Like smart thinking that was an option. So we'll take that down. Gligar, this is one that I really wanted to show here. So we have resisted wing attacks, nothing you can do, but it only takes 7 to get to the dig, right? So we're gonna get timing there. We're gonna throw the dig, and this was when I was like, oh, that actually did a lot. And here we are into the yellow, which is great. Out comes the Swampert. I'm gonna try and catch on my Tapu. Yeah, I tried to catch the Hydro on my Tapu because I was like, if they throw right on 5, I can eat that, and then I'll just have such a good matchup there. They were smart and did not throw right on 5. So I have to shield this up. I do end up shielding both Earthquakes and just getting the farm down and coming out with energy, and I believe they quit, if I remember. But that Gligar, I would have, if they threw the Stone Edge, I would have let it go. Because, I wanted to see how much it did, but they decided to switch, and then I just end this matchup here. Because they go straight, or did they go Hydro here? No, they go for 3rd, and then they quit, realizing that I got 100 energy here. Sableye, this is probably one where I just let it go. I bait dig. I let the first one go because I'm like, I want to see the foul play in a neutral situation. So just over 50%. So good bulk. Actually, like, again, not top tier bulk, but pretty good bulk. I bait Aerial Ace, and that now allows me to get to dig much quicker than them. They catch that dig on the Azumarill. So good catch. This is also like a good showcase. And that's the problem, right? So dig is good in sort of neutral situations, but on tanks, they're still tanks. So 80 damage to a 240 plus HP Azumarill, they're still going to let that live that quite easy. And I would have had a terrible, terrible matchup against Azumarill if I can only go like a 1/3 dig when they have super effective bubbles and double super effective ice beams, if they're running ice beam, or just super effective hydro pump. But Lickitung able to come in there, shield up a hydro pump properly, have energy coming out. They shield, which is interesting to me. So if they're shielding, they're probably weak in the back to this. And it is the owl. So I bank the move, thinking that like, oh yeah, Sky Attack's nerfed. But what is not nerfed is Shadow Ball. So you can still get to the Shadow Balls in the same amount. And then I'm like, okay, that's just a Sky Attack. Maybe I'll live a Sky Attack. And then oh no, Tapu Fini is just straight garbage in the Great League. So go down there. Okay. Again, this is the problem here, though. I can only throw Aerial Ace, right? It's the only move I have. I can't throw Dig. I got to throw Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is bad. It's a bad move. Do get the CMP there, which is nice. Again, it chips. I shield thinking I can get to a second one to take this out, and I could have, but they make a nice catch on a Sableye. But I do have a move banked on my Lickitung. Coming in here, farming up a bit. Don't want to get farmed down by the Sableye. Body Slam will take it out from this range because I'm low. They're low. And now one leg to get to the next Body Slam. I will be able to take this match anyways. So some good play there. Gligar. Again, that's where it kind of sucks. Like the flyers are tricky. Medicham. Good but not good because Medicham has Ice Punch, which is double super effective, right? So they could have just stayed in and throw those. This is why it's bait dependent to a certain extent. So I get freaking double baited here, and then they land a dig and take me out, and then I'm pretty sure I lose this matchup because of that. Right? So Shadow Gligar. Have to respect the dig, because the dig would have taken me out from that range. I go for the farm down, and now they have the dig because they baited me twice because it now charges fast, and holy smokes, a Shadow Gligar does much, much better than a regular Gligar in terms of hitting, and I'm pretty sure that is probably reflected in the rankings. Shadow Gligar 6, normal Gligar is 9th. Shadow Gligar with the 24 and 17 record. Normal Gligar with a 21 and 20 record. And so maybe that is where the extra power from the digs and even the Aerial Aces probably comes into play. Because you're already going to lose the ones you're going to lose, right? You're going to lose to the waters and you're going to lose to the ice. But being able to, if you have decent bulk, which we just said we did, 2,000 stat product with 130, 140 defense and stamina, you can probably give some of that up and get that extra harder hitting, especially when you have a Pokemon that only takes 5 wing attacks to get to Aerial Ace and 7 to get to Dig. So can you do without the Shadow? Yes. Is the Shadow better? In this scenario, I will say yes, for those exact reasons that I just did. Let me reiterate that what I just said again. You're going to lose the matchups you're going to lose anyways. The waters and the ice. You're weak and double weak to that. You have good overall stat products. 146 defense, 130 stamina, 2053 total stat product. That is very good. You saw that I can go Shadow Claw and Foul Play and still have 40% left over. Problem is, They don't need to respect an air from a non-shadow Gligar, but they need to respect it, and they need to respect a dig from a shadow Gligar. And those moves, it doesn't seem like the 20% defense you're going to give up there. Like, again, one more, if I'm against that Sableye in that matchup, the Shadow Claws and the Foul Play are still not going to take me out. I'm still going to have like a third of my health. Instead of having like 40%, 45%, I'll have like a third to a quarter of health left. But I'm going to hit way harder, 20% harder, 20% more damage is what you take. That's the Shadow rule. And they're going to have to respect the air laces and dig from that. And that's where you probably get more bait ability and more harder hitting ability just in neutral matchups. So Gligar is both in the top 10. I think it is worth it because outside of those bad matchups, where again, water and ice, you're generally neutral across the board. You have great coverage, right? You can hit steals. Your fast attack doesn't hit steals, but you have a move to hit steals. You cover grass. You're just neutral everywhere else, essentially, right? There's what resists your moves. Steals are the only thing that resists your fast moves. Dig is resisted by grass and flying. Grass, you obviously have two answers with wing attack and air release. And flyers, is like I said, want to be outside of ice and water is probably going to be one of your biggest issues because you can only go wing attack, air release. But that is where the extra shadow damage will at least start to add up there. So is it worth the hype? Yes. I think Gligar is one worth building. Does it come like... The next question is this one that is on like every top 6 team at regionals? Right? That's... So let me just sim this, because what we have not seen is Gligar against some of the main meta Pokemon. So I'm going to put in normal Gligar, and I'm going to put Shadow Gligar, and I'm going to go against Medicham. I'm going to go against Carbink. I'm going to go against Registeel, Swampert. I'll put in Sandslash, but we all know that you're just going to get killed by Sandslash. What else is a top meta? What else is a top meta? I'll put in Cresselia. I'll put in Double. I'm just going to put in like most of the top 20 Pokemon here. I'm trying to think. Oh, I'll put in Lantern, because Lantern's still very strong despite the nerf. Because it does take a little longer to get to the source, but you're still very, very strong. What else is meta on this list that I've seen at regionals here? Let's just go with that for now. Let's just sims these like 8, because those are like the main 8. I think Noctowl is like off the radar. So you have... So A Sandslash kills you, not surprising. It says you lose... It says your Shadow Gligar actually beats Swampert. So one Hydro does 77%, and it says you need to bait an air lace and land a dig. So let me see if you just go straight dig, if you would win or lose. You would still win going straight dig against Swampert, because it takes 2 Hydros to take you out. Because the mud shots are resistant, it takes 2 Hydros to take you out. If you shield up one, it only takes 2 digs, like one shielded and the second one landing, to take it out, because it does 55%. But these wing attacks from a Shadow do 3.7% on a normal Swampert. So that is where your wing attack extra damage comes in handy. You beat Registeel. I'm guessing if they have Focus Blast, Zap Cannon's still double, like only single resisted because of the ground weakness to ground. But it's interesting. That is interesting. So your wins, it's you have only one, like 5 and 3 Shadow versus 4 and 4 normal, but they are like significantly different wins. So your wins in the 4 are Medicham, Carbink, Registeel, and Double. So Registeel and Double are the same in both. Medicham and Carbink with the normal Gligar versus Shadow Gligar, which picks up Swampert, Cresselia, and Lantern. You actually lose Cresselia and Lantern and Swampert with the normal Gligar. So really interesting. So there is a significant difference here. Those are not optimal IVs though. Those are just original IVs. Let me just go with max stat product to see if that changes anything. Because realistically at Worlds you're gonna have max stat product, and then it's a 5 and 3 and versus 5, 2, and 1. So it still looks like you lose Carbink. You go neutral Shadow. You make the Shadow Gligar gets back the Medicham matchup. It's normal. You still lose Gligar there. But normal Gligar with great IVs picks up Cress. That's where they pick up the 1. And the only 2 that you're going to lose for Shadow are Sandslash and Carbink. So, yes, this Pokemon is becoming meta. I think it just has insane coverage, fast charging, fast move, great coverage, decent bulk, instant meta. Worth the hype. Worth building one up for sure. Shadow Helix you're seeing this afternoon, exact opposite. Absolutely not worth the hype. And I will go over that this afternoon, so come back, stay tuned. Greedent tomorrow. It wasn't hyped. I have thoughts on Greedent. It is better, but I thought it'd be like, oh man, Mudshot, faster charging, could be one of the best save swaps. No. We'll go over that tomorrow. And then yeah, we'll just keep, I mentioned in my video this afternoon, and way too late in this video, I'm going to do 2 videos a day, Saturday through Thursday, just to get these teams out. So stay tuned. Lots of teams to go over, but I think it'll be worth it because it'll be lots of good stuff to cover here. So thanks for watching on the weekend. Thanks for the thumbs up and comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.